Fellow brothers and sisters of the Ninth Legion, you already know that only in death does duty end. This is Bruce and Studs, and welcome on into another JoyToy / Warhammer collaboration video. And in this one, we're going to be reviewing the very highly anticipated Furioso Dreadnought that is exclusive to the Blood Angels chapter. And of course, many channel followers know that I am an extreme fan of the Blood Angels, as I've always been since pretty much the late 90s when I was inducted into the halls of Warhammer. I never looked back. So anyways, I am very excited to review this action figure, mainly because one of the things that I have harped on again and again, and I'll remind you if you're new, that with my hard-earned teenage money in the late 90s, the first model that I actually bought from Games Workshop, aside from the Warhammer 40K second edition box set, was actually of a regular Dreadnought that I turned obviously into a Blood Angels Dreadnought. So this particular action figure has something near and dear to my heart. So I'm very excited to get into it and to actually review it. Without further ado, let's jump right on in. My fellow Dreadnought fans, the time is now to open this sexy action figure. Woo. Although I will have to say, folks, my expectations are a little bit tempered given the quality control issues JoyToy has been having as of late. All the painting issues, the missing parts, the unglued parts. We'll see how it goes. Unveiling. There we go. Oh no. You see that? One of the blood claws fell off. Alright folks, in front of you is the Furioso Dreadnought in all of its glory. Let's just hope it lives up to the expectations that we've all been wanting for the whole entire time. My expectations, in all honesty, are quite tempered, again, because of all the quality control issues that we have been, unfortunately, been subjected to. So let's see what's going on, starting with the smoke launchers. So the smoke launchers are good. I don't see any issues over here. It's nice, again, that they have this gunmetal brushing on it. It's very nice looking. I can really get behind this kind of look. And then moving on from the smoke launchers, let's go to the power plant in the back. And again, the power plant in the back is also nice. It has these, I suppose, smokestacks. And you can see that there's a nice gunmetal brushing too here. It's accurate to what you want to paint a miniature with, and that's exactly how I paint my miniatures on the tabletop. So looking at the rest of the power plant, it seems like there is a slight paint issue here, probably a scuff, some random paint issues over here. This is a ding over here. I'm not too sure if this is supposed to represent some kind of battle damage, but it is a little bit of a ding, and there is some mispaints over here. But overall, these mispaints aren't that crucial, and they aren't really that exaggerated in my opinion, so it's okay. Looking over here, there is also some slight dings and painting issues as well. Unfortunately, this is something that we have expected from JoyToy, so this is pretty much par for the course so far. So let's take a look at the wings themselves, and it looks like it's not too bad. There is some mist shading over here, which is not a big deal. Most of us probably, I'm going to presume, actually do paint our Warhammer miniatures, so this can easily be filled in with some sort of Black Templar contrast or Nuln Oil, which is fine if you're using the Citadel paints. And then same thing with here, there is some missing paints as well. And then looking at the sarcophagus itself, you know, I keep saying that JoyToy should be doing this undercoating where you have a silver undercoat and a red glaze. And I really, really like this look right here. It makes the action figure really pop out, and it makes these blood tears just awesome in my opinion. So I really, really dig this, and I hope that JoyToy keeps it up. Moving on to the rest of the sarcophagus, yes, there is some issues over here with the gold bleeding onto the black, but it's not a big deal. We can fix that if we decide to paint it. Then moving on to the other areas on the Dreadnought. So you have these lights over here, and over here. I'm going to think that these are probably targeting sensors. And as I have said before on the Venerable Dreadnought video, I would like to see this similar to this kind of thing, where you have an undercoat of silver, and then you have a clear green glaze over here, because that's exactly what this is. This is a targeting unit, so it would make sense that this thing is sort of like a translucent kind of silverish green kind of color. So this is a bit of a miss in my opinion. I wish they would have done exactly what they did over here. So moving on, they're looking at the pipes over here. There is highlighting involved, and it is fairly rough highlighting. Nothing that cannot be improved, but regardless, it's not too bad in my opinion. Looks like the action figure I got is fairly decent compared to the Venerable Dreadnought that I received. And then up top, you do get a little bit of shading issues where the shading kind of bled out from the recesses over here. You can see over here, well, over here as well as over here. It's shaded in incorrect areas. But I would have to say, if you're looking from top down over here, the shading actually looks pretty damn good. You have the shading out to the side, and then the panels themselves are a nice red color. So no complaints over here for sure. I'm overall rather pleased with this action figure that I received, minus the, well, blood claw that fell off that I can put back in. Anyways, I'll get to that later. All right, looking at the right blood claw, let's see what's going on over here. You have the iconography over here, some mist shading up here, and then you get these nice silverish red teardrops, which are very good. The purity seal is actually very nice. You have the dark shading here as well as the dark shading in the recesses. So this actually doesn't bother me too much. It looks really good in my opinion. And then looking at the blood claw itself, it appears that there is some painting issues, I guess, where the shading got onto the blood tear. I wish that JoyToy would have perhaps shaded this area a little bit more, but it's not that bad in my opinion. Then let's take a look at the articulation. The articulation is actually pretty good. There is no squeaking from what I hear. The Venerable Dreadnought had a lot of squeaking, so let's see if this holds up. Let's look at the Stormbolter. The Stormbolter is highlighted, which is really good. As I said, highlights are great on these action figures because they make them pop out really nicely. And then you have the nice gunmetal color and the black casing. This is all very true to Games Workshop form, which is fantastic. For the blood claws themselves, it appears that you can rotate them, which is great. However, you can't do anything else with it. You can't pinch or open these things up. As I said, this particular blood claw fell off, which I'm pretty sure that I can just kind of attach back on like so. Oh, okay. Looks like I am wrong. Looks like we are able to actually manipulate the blood claws, which is nice. I did not know that. So you can actually open these things up a little bit more than from what you can see on the stock thing. It's fantastic. I like this. This is a lot more articulation than the Venerable Dreadnought. As I said on the Venerable Dreadnought, I wish the fists would actually just open and close like what I'm doing here. So the blood claws actually do that. So with the Stormbolter, there is a little bit of a mispainting over here. I'm sure, again, that you can go over this with some lead belcher and then Nuln Oil to make it blend in, if you are inclined to do so. What's this here? Looks like there is some painting issues down over here where you got the silver of the storm bolter onto the blood claw itself. Then moving on to the, oh dear God, what the hell? I completely did not see this part. All right, so this is garbage in my opinion. What the hell is this crap? This is complete slop. We were going so well up until this point. So you have obviously the shading bleed over here, which I'm pretty sure as I'm actually rubbing this thing off that it's actually coming off on my hand. You can actually rub this off. But coming from the factory, this really shouldn't be something that we would need to deal with to clean off our action figures, in my opinion. So looking at the left blood claw, so you have a very crisp Blood Angels icon. I am definitely a fan of how crisp this is. With the skull itself, I suppose that you have some either mispainting or the painting got scraped on here, but it actually doesn't look too bad in my opinion. And then with the blood claw itself, again, you have the gemmed kind of blood tear look, as well as the wings. They don't really have too much shading, but I'm sure that, again, you could shade this if you were so inclined to do so. The heavy flamer in of itself, let's take a look at it. With regards to the articulation, it looks like the heavy flamer was kind of like jammed underneath here. So all you need to do is just pivot this thing out so you can have some articulation with the flamer going back and forth, but it is fairly limited. I think you can only go out to this point and then go in this much. So it's very limited as to what you can do with it, mainly because of this hose right here. I suppose if you move the hose out of the way, you could probably articulate this as much as you want. The heavy flamer itself it's okay. You have some highlights over here, which is nice. So the tip of the heavy flamer is a little bit dirty over here. I wish that the shading would have been a little bit more precise so you can get more of a natural gold color. But you know how heavy flamers are. They should have a lot of carbonized burning over here. So this actually may, be correct in my opinion. All right, so moving on, let's see how the torso is. So the torso has 360 degree of motion, and thankfully it does not squeak. Again, the Venerable Dreadnought was squeaking all over the place, so apparently I might have gotten lucky and not gotten a squeaky version here, which is really, really good. It's really nice. And then looking at the legs, this Furioso part is fantastic. I mean, the shading around it leaves a little bit more to be desired. As you can see here, there is some bleed where the white goes onto the red. Same thing with here, white goes on the red. But I would have to say that the printing over here with the Furioso is spot on. It is crisp. It looks like it's almost like printed on, which is nice. Looking at the feet, you get a little bit of shading issues over here where the black has bled onto the red a little bit too much, and a little bit over here. But it is nowhere near, as far as from I can tell, that bad compared to the Venerable Dreadnought, where it was too black over here. Got a little bit of issues going on as well. Looking over here, it seems like the shading got a little bit away. I think that this should have been a little bit of light red, because this place is pretty dark compared to this one over here on the opposite side. Have some silver from the rest of the leg bleeding on over here. With the rest of the silver on the body, I think it looks really great, to be honest. So this looks very accurate to exactly how I would paint my Furioso Dreadnought, and they got a very spot-on rendition on how this area is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a dark gunmetal, and they did a nice brushing over to it. And then the tubing down here has really rough highlights here, but that doesn't really bother me too much. Now let's look at the rotation of the legs. It has this ratcheting motion, as you can hear, but at least it doesn't squeak. Same thing with this side. You can ratchet it around. Let me see if the legs have some sort of articulation. Oh yes, it does. So you can articulate this back and forth to actually pose this Dreadnought however which you want to pose it. And then same thing with this other side. You can articulate this around so you can put this Dreadnought, I assume, on unequal footing. It's not too bad. Some issues over here where I suppose there is damage. maybe from putting this action figure inside of the shipping container or something like that. Same thing over here, same issues on this side. Then over here, the shading is a little bit weak. You have some of the red coming out from the black, which shouldn't be the case. This should be 100% black. All right, folks, that's the review. So let's move on to my final thoughts and wrap up. So what are my thoughts on this action figure? Well, I'll be honest with you. I absolutely think it's pretty fucking incredible. And pardon my English, folks. This has been one of those action figures that I've been highly anticipating ever since that JoyToy announced that they were going to be making a Furioso Dreadnought. I have been dying to get my hands on this action figure, and the time is obviously now. That is not saying that this does not have its flaws. Obviously, I was pretty irritated with the shading that was going on with one of the blood claws. There are still some mispaints here and there, but I'll have to say overall, the mispainting is not that bad compared to, let's just say, the Venerable Dreadnought that I reviewed. There is no squeaking. There is nothing that is falling off. There's nothing I needed to re-glue. But that being said, I kind of wonder if I was lucky to get one of the cleaner action figures, because I have been seeing amongst the community that you have been getting some issues with your Dreadnought, with some of the parts falling off. Some of the hoses have been come undone. There's been some issues with the torso squeaking a lot. There's been stiff joints. So maybe I would consider myself lucky at this point in time. But I'll have to say, again, as this thing is rotating on the carousel right now, it just looks absolutely gorgeous to me. JoyToy, again, knocks it out of the ballpark in terms of the accuracy of the rendition compared to the Warhammer miniature that I've also put underneath the big one. I mean, it is pretty much 100% spot on with regards to what the heavy flamer is supposed to look like. The Stormbolter, the blood claws, the engine in the back. I mean, their attention to detail is absolutely unparalleled in my opinion, and they give the best rendition despite all their stupid ass fucking flaws. It's still pretty damn good in the end compared to like Bandai or McFarlane. This is still, with all the issues, my go-to for any kind of action figures. So let me know in the comments, everybody, how have your action figures looked as of lately? Do they still have quality assurance issues? Are you having the same problems that everybody else has been describing as above? Please let me know. I hope you enjoyed this review video. There again will be even more review videos just as long as JoyToy keeps pumping out these products. I will also be doing a lot of preview videos as well, just to let you know what is coming on the horizon so you can save your hard-earned dollars. So this is Spruce and Studs, and I will see you all in the next one.